Many people demand extraordinary evidence for God's existence, while accepting the reality of other things, based on logical standard criteria. Let's systematically apply those same current standard criteria to the question of God's existence, and expose the contradiction in using them to reject the proof that God is real. Why do we accept certain truths without question, but demand impossible proof for God? Let's objectively and honestly examine the same evidence and criteria humanity has always used logically to believe and prove the existence and reality of something or someone, to prove that God is real. 1. Direct sensory perception criteria to prove something is real. People believe in emotions like love, pain, and happiness, even though they cannot be seen, yet they reject God's existence because they cannot physically see Him. While not all people claim to physically see God, there are reports throughout history of individuals experiencing divine encounters, visions, voices, miracles, and personal spiritual experiences. Many believers describe a deep sense of God's presence, similar to how we experience emotions like love or joy without physically seeing them. 2. Testimony and witness accounts criteria to prove something is real. Millions accept the existence of historical figures like the philosopher Socrates based on ancient texts and eyewitness accounts, yet they dismiss the Bible's similar testimonies of God's historical interactions with humanity. Billions of people across different cultures, eras, and religions claim to have experienced God in various ways. Sacred texts like the Bible, Torah, and Quran record eyewitness testimonies of encounters with God. Countless individuals, including theologians, philosophers, scientists, and ordinary believers, attest to answered prayers, divine interventions, and supernatural occurrences with God. 3. Physical evidence and artifacts criteria to prove something is real. We believe in lost civilizations based on ruins and artifacts, yet when the fine-tuned universe, miraculous events, and religious artifacts point to God, skeptics call it coincidence. Archaeological findings confirm many historical events and locations mentioned in historical religious texts. The existence of churches, religious writings, and even documented miracles, such as those verified in the Catholic Church, serve as artifacts evidence of divine influence by God. 4. Impact and influence criteria to prove something is real. No one questions the real existence of Aristotle or Shakespeare because their ideas changed the world, yet God's historical influence, the foundation of laws, morality, and civilization, is dismissed as imaginary. No other being has influenced human civilization more than God. Religions based on God's existence have shaped morality, laws, ethics, culture, and art for millennia in the past, and will continue in the future. Transformational stories, such as atheists becoming believers after life-changing encounters which demonstrate the ongoing influence of God. 5. Logical and philosophical reasoning criteria to prove something is real. People accept the logic that every effect has a cause, such as the Big Bang requiring an origin. Yet, when the same logic points to God as the first cause, they refuse to follow it to its conclusion. The first cause argument, known as the cosmological argument, states that everything that begins to exist must have a cause. The universe had a beginning, so it must have had a cause known as God. The design argument, known as the teleological argument, states that the orderly complexity of life and the universe suggests an intelligent designer, rather than random, accidental chaos. The good versus evil moral argument states that all the universal moral and good values and laws had to originate from a good and moral lawgiver, as shown by God in religious texts, since evil cannot produce good and moral thinking and actions. The ontological argument states that the very concept of a greater intelligent and powerful being has to exist in reality, not just in thought based on all creation. 6. Digital and recorded proof criteria to prove something is real. People believe in historical video footage, eyewitness documentaries, and personal testimonies about life-changing experiences. Yet, thousands of recorded accounts of miracles and divine encounters are brushed off as hallucinations or bias when related to God. Modern accounts of divine encounters, miracles, healings, near-death experiences are recorded in books, videos, and interviews. There are thousands of testimonies of radical life-changing accounts from past drug addicts, criminals, and skeptics that turned into believers and are documented through modern media. Also, there are thousands of medical doctors that have witnessed and testified of the miracles they have seen in their patients and could not be credited to any medical treatment. 7. Scientific evidence criteria to prove something is real. People trust scientific explanations and conclusions about the universes and life's complexities. Yet when those same principles clearly point to the existence of an intelligent creator, they deny or ignore such explanation. The fine-tuning and order of the universe as precise physical constants that allow life to exist suggests an intelligent designer, rather than everything that exists became from random chance. DNA and information theory reveal that life's genetic code is more complex than any human-made programming language, proving a source of intelligence behind it. The origin of the universe aligns with the idea of a creator, as the Big Bang indicates a definite beginning, which science itself affirms, and that all effects must have a cause. Irreducible complexity biological organisms only function if all their parts are in exact form and place, meaning they couldn't have evolved step by step, but must have been designed by an intelligent creator. In biology, shows that certain biological systems are too interdependent to have evolved step by step without intelligent guidance. Conclusion. Therefore, we have applied the same modern and accepted criteria standards that official experts use to prove that something or someone is real and exists on the topic of God. The results of such criteria application has shown enough evidence to prove that a God is real and does exist. The contradiction is clear in that many people reject God's existence while accepting the same criteria when applied to other things in our histories and lives. If we are to be intellectually honest, we must acknowledge that the evidence for God is as strong, if not stronger, than the evidence we readily accept for other things humanity has deemed to have existed and are taught to be real. If you refuse to acknowledge God's existence, despite the overwhelming evidence mentioned before, then ask yourself, what is your real personal reason to ignore the evidence and proof that a God must exist and be real?
Get our ebook for you or a loved one, only at JesusAgape.com.